In the interrogations, let's talk about Mercy. Positioning as well, maybe Route 66 if you want. Did you go from a safe area to more dangerous area in order to heal your allies? No, short answer. Obviously, you should always hide if you have res, but what about when you don't? So, I'm going to talk about a game, because in Overwatch, it's a little bit muddier, and it only feels muddy in my mind because you're playing from like a first-person perspective. That's why it feels really muddy. So, I know a lot of people out there have played like League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, Dota. So, let's just draw a very simple Dota map, okay? Like, this is why Dota's icon is like how it is, okay? So you got the 3 lanes, and you got your jungle in these areas, and then you got like your river through it, whatever. Okay? And let's say your team is chilling out, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you got a 5th guy all the way over here. And then you got the enemy team, let's make them blue just to make this confusing, who are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this situation, is the correct move for you, the support, to go and run through their team and go and help this guy? The answer is very obviously no. Like, you can see immediately from this top-down viewpoint that this is fucking suicide. It's very, very clear that if you try and run forward, especially if you have an important tool, like a support tool, like a Resurrect, it's very, very obvious that you should not get out of position to save this guy, because you are just going to fucking die. And so, when this happens in game, which it does happen in Overwatch, like you have a Genji back here spamming, I require healing. If you pull yourself out of position to go and do that, and even if you're just running to here, gone too thin, even if you just run to here, like, you're still going to get initiated on and nailed by their team. The exact same principle applies in Overwatch. So if we think about Route 66, you got like your little diner here. So second point, Route 66, you got your indoor area here. Let's just make it a big square. You got like the hill over here. You got the little rock here. The payload merrily makes its way over around here. Okay, and then you got like the balcony over this way. If you think about it in terms of positioning, where let's say that their team is on the payload, and the payload is here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of your team is over here, and then the rest of your team is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we run all the way over here and try and help this guy, we're fucked. If we run all the way over here and try and help someone up here, we're fucked. Like, there's nothing good that happens coming out of our position. One person out of position is not remedied by another person getting out of position. So if people are out of place, you just got to let them go, and you just got to say, if they get angry at you in team chat, you just say, no, I can't help you there. Now, Anna is a little bit different. Why is Anna different? Anna is different because, conceivably, if someone is up here, I know it doesn't show up too well, but if someone's up on this high ground area, and we're playing Anna, we can position, you know, and let's say that we are this person here, we can move over here a little bit, and try and get a clear sightline at them, and then support them from a long range. And this is why Anna is better at supporting people who can flank around and do that kind of stuff, because you can support from that long distance. Zenyatta's even better at it, because Zenyatta can just put an orb on him, and then hide away, and just stay like nice and safe in position, without getting initiated on. So this logic still applies. Mercy is bad at doing that because she has to be near the person she's healing. She's much better when the team is relatively as a tight unit, or you can bounce around towards high ground areas, for example, where you can just be out of reach of the enemy team. The second you are in reach of the enemy team, you are out of position. And so when playing Mercy, the best advice I can give you in terms of positioning is just be very, very considered before you make any move that brings you closer to their team. And that's kind of true for any support. Like, anytime you are moving closer to their team, you have to be doing it with very clear purpose. Because if you are not, then you are just going to get killed. It's that simple. So Lucio's can kind of do it, you know, imagine if suddenly there was a pit opened up here to Hades, and you came through and you got a boop and you sent their Reinhardt in. Okay, fair enough, whatever. That's Lucio being stylish and being Lucio. As Mercy, there's very little reason for us to get out of position. So that's my thoughts on that entire thing. We know that Mercy created Reaper, but most players think she's a keeper. She's a little too kind, we could all be blind. Maybe she's a talent sleeper? No. I really don't think she's a talent sleeper agent of any kind. So about the Winston comment? No. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to dignify it with an answer. I don't need people judging me. I have enough people judging me. Out of 10, how close do you think you look like Angela Ziegler? 1. She's a very pretty lady. I am not a very pretty lady, unfortunately. Would you wear your blonde, amazing, shiny hair like this if you had it, or would you go for the man bun? I wouldn't wear it like this because this is like so fucking Jimmy Savile. It hurts, and the less I'm associated with Jimmy Savile, I think the better. That's just a good like life move in general. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't wear it like this. When I had long hair, I wore it in a center parting. Like, I don't think I can actually do it with this hair. Maybe I can do it with this wig. So it was actually more like this. No, I can't do it with how this is cut. So whatever. Bring this back over this way. Oh, Jesus, I fucked it up. I fucked it up. It's all gone wrong. Oh, Jesus. Oh, no. What have I done? This is a big mistake. Okay. But no, I would not. What do you think of the stigma that mercies only tend to be women? Do you think it's damaging the scene? What a question. That's a brutal question. So first and foremost, most mercies are women. I would disagree with just because of the numbers of player base. I think most mercies are probably males, just because there's that many more men playing than there are women. I do personally find it interesting that women gravitate towards mercy. But part of me thinks that it's just because of how men are wired in a competitive environment. Men are naturally more competitive than women in terms of our brain chemistry and how our brain chemistry works. We feel more rewarded at winning competitions of skill. And therefore we are more likely to compete in even relatively trivial things. So that's why men are very competitive with one another. Women are a lot more considered about how they compete and are a lot less likely to like get a big hit of dopamine at getting 20 kills in a round. They're going to get a big hit of dopamine if they win the round more. So if you got 20 kills but you lose, a man is probably more likely to go, yeah, than a woman would. It's just because of how we are wired and how we're sort of programmed mentally, sort of the long-term effects of testosterone on the body and on the brain. I think the stigma against mercies in general is partially self-inflicted. Like, there is a frustration when someone is playing at the very highest level of the game, but they do not have the mechanical skills to back that up. And so basically using mercy as almost like a crutch, I think is a problem. Where you have managed to get to Grandmaster, for example, by only playing a hero that relies on just positioning knowledge. If your players are good and you are not out of position, you will probably do very well in that match. And just purely playing that and being at the same rank as someone who has amazing fucking hit scan accuracy feels a little bit, that's just in my opinion. Other than that, I think the stigma of like hating people just for maining heroes, I don't agree with. I don't like sort of the reaction that mains get. If you have made the conscious decision to be good at that hero, then by all means, sure, go for it. Just be fucking good at that hero. And don't be too upsetty if people are a little bit frustrated, I would say. Just like a little bit reasonably frustrated that they have to sort of bend their entire game around how you're playing. There is an understanding of like, that is actually a little bit of a dick move. That World War I camp was back before Anna was OP and the movement, so it was taken away. These days I'm seeing so much more mercy mains. The World War I camp, like the thing with the World War I camp was we knew it was going to be a big deal on release, but then Bastion like drops out and then he got changed and so he came back in, but now he's sort of been figured out again, so he's dropped back out, and Soldier 76 is just better with his ultimate and all that kind of stuff. And Anna Nades is just really good at dealing with it and stuff like that, so hey. I don't see it coming back, luckily, thank God. I just realised that the Dota is just the map layout. Yep, it's that simple. More serious question, why are there a lot of Mercy 1 traits? It kind of bounces off the back of that. It's also, like, part of me also thinks that there's like a social, not so much a social reason, but like a more, almost like narrative reason, where, like, if you want, you know, if you're looking at a list of, well, what hero should I play? People like to look for stuff that almost reflects themselves in some way, so, or what they want to be, and Mercy is just like a good female role model, so women will naturally gravitate towards Mercy. There is also the stigma of it, and I'll mention it for sake of argument. I don't think this is a huge influencer, but I do think it has some influence as like a minor factor, but there is the girlfriend factor, where if you are introducing your girlfriend to playing Overwatch, you can put them on Mercy, and then you can sort of guide them around and introduce them to the game through that, and then they feel safe playing Mercy, so they keep playing Mercy. there is that factor as well. But I think it's just more that Mercy just has something about her that women will gravitate towards in a way that men will gravitate towards Genji, Soldier 76, stuff like that. And that's much more traditional, like, oh, I want to play this guy because he looks cool and does cool things. I also think there is a safety as well that will play into that, and I know that this is a very complicated issue and a very heated issue. So hopefully in the chat you're all being very patient as I try and explain these things and like my thoughts on these things. I also think there is a safety in playing Mercy, where women disproportionately get more abuse than men. Just like I've read studies based on this. There's some fascinating studies based on this. The best study I read was what happens, they did this with playing Halo, and they set up like a bot almost of like voice responses to people. And they basically did this 3-tier response thing of they had basically a male player. Why has it gone thick again? There we go. They had a male player who was good, a male player that was average, and a male player that was bad. And then they sort of made it a proper trial by having a female player that was good, female player that was average, and a female player that was bad. And these were all these were actually the same people. But what they had was a sort of pre-recorded responses to cover any eventuality that's going to come up in the chat. And what they found was really interesting. And I really find this fascinating, so I'm going to just explain this entire thing, because I think this is a really cool study. What they found was, you know, when a male player is doing well, he'll occasionally get some trash talk to him, but it's mostly just, you know, people give him compliments every now and then. Oh, hey, yeah, you're really good. Or, you know, it's the usual stuff of, oh man, you must have no life. But it's moderate. Average, just ignored. Bad, just ignored. Women, disproportionately high amount of attention just because they're a novelty, they're different, and they changed the social order. But what was really fucking fascinating was the female player that was good got a huge amount of abuse. And they got a huge amount of abuse, not from male players that were good, and like their judging skill by, you know, they bring up the scoreboard and see, you know, where people are ranking. And what they found was male players that were high up on the scoreboard were generally very complimentary. Generally like very, hey, no, you're playing really well, like you're doing really well. Male players that were bad, and this is such a fascinating fucking nugget of information, male players that were bad were disproportionately more abusive. They theorized why by basically having it being like a social order thing. So if you think about the social order in a very simple construction, you have generally, especially in a male-dominated environment, you will have the alpha males, and then like the beta males, and then like the omega males. And the alpha males are going to be like the highest tier players. They are the dominant forces there. They clearly are highly skilled and clearly wield a lot of authority. Beta males generally lag behind that a little bit, but they want to try and replace the alpha males, and they want to try and get higher up in the authority chain. What disrupts that is when a woman enters and goes like here or even into the alpha male category. Then what happens is like an aggressive and hostile response, because the beta male feels like he's being replaced by this outsider who doesn't belong, and they can easily identify that this is an outsider. And so that's why they get very aggressive. They get very abusive, because their social order is being decreased by someone else coming in who in their mind should not be coming into that environment in the first place. Therefore, they get aggressive, and therefore they get very abusive. It's a fascinating study, and I'll see if I can find the link to it, but it's a really, really cool study of like, that kind of makes a lot of sense. That's an interesting conclusion to make. It also gives you the comfort of mind knowing that if you are a woman playing a game like Overwatch and someone starts getting really abusive at you, it could just be because they are a beta male feeling really threatened. And there's a comfort in that, I find. A really big comfort in that. The female average and female bad just got, again, generic abuse. Disproportionately high amounts of abuse, though. Which is a shame. It's a shame. But it happens. You just got to hope that it changes with time. It's gotten better. It's gotten better with time, that's all I can say. Women were treated way worse when I was growing up. Now it's a lot better. Best support to play if you're a tank player? Kind of varies. Like, it depends on what you want to gravitate towards. I don't think there's I don't think there's an immediate go-to and an immediate crossover. I'd say that Ana's not bad, because you should know what to expect out of an Ana, and playing a lot of Ana will let you know as a tank player like what the Ana is doing a lot more. But otherwise, I think it's just up in the air. I think you can just do what you want. Lots of comments about positioning and bad shifts, but he got away with it. But isn't part of playing at a particular skill level knowing what you can get away with and continuing to do so until you get punished? Gold DPS are not going to kill you that quickly. But the thing is this, quite often in those positioning where he was getting away with it, he didn't actually need to be there in the first place. So it's like, if you are getting away with it, sure. But A, it's bad habits. B, you don't need to be there to do that. Again, L shapes. Like, quite often it was just simply the difference between being enemy team, our team, and let's make us yellow, because it will stand out. And us should be over here. Out of line of sight. Ideally, L shape is just the easiest thing to support from. Quite often we are more like here, and sometimes we are even out here. Like, we don't want to be in these two positions. This is bad. This is good. And so we want to just be very careful about that, because when we do start climbing, and we will start climbing, because we listen to Josh and watch Coaching the Many and all that kind of stuff, then we're going to start running into problems where we're used to just being in the habit, and just killing that habit immediately is fine. And the way I'd say to go about it is this: like, if you are recording your own VODs, watch your own VODs, don't wait for me to do it, and just like, ask yourself, well, why am I in this position? What can I do here that I couldn't do elsewhere? What can I do here that I can't do from hiding over here? What can I do up front that I can't do from tucked away a little bit? I'm holding on to res. Am I in a position where if they turn and focus and kill me, will they just kill me? It's all that kind of stuff. Like, I disagree with the idea that, you know, because I can... And especially on Mercy, like, if you're playing Genji, then sure, understanding the enemy team's limitations and then exploiting where they are not dealing with you appropriately is a valuable skill. Playing Mercy is a different ball game, where you can still squeeze out relatively similar amounts of healing, get off better resurrects, get off safer healing, and honestly be punished a lot less, because when the punishment does happen, it's going to fucking hurt a lot. When you're playing Genji and if you're getting away with like dashes going in, then sure, it's a different ball game, because you can do more actively, you can proactively punish, and you'll very quickly climb out of that elo. At playing Mercy, it's a little bit more about being cautious, being careful, and then maximizing what you can get away with to a point where it's actually being advantageous and not just you being out of position. Hopefully that made some sense. Why are Mercy made so strong on the OW forums? Again, I don't know. What Mercy specific settings do you prefer? I personally prefer having beam target disabled, so I hold down left click, right click. So yeah, I do hold, and the reason why I do hold, I think I did this in a previous Coaching the Many, but I'll do it again now. I'll answer a different question while I load up Overwatch and show this off. Let's go to my face very quickly. No, we can just load up Overwatch like this. This is not related, but dealing with Tactical Visor as a team, what do you do? Hide, kill? I generally try and fire off a shot and then hide. So let's bring you back while we load into training. So what I'll generally do is try and fire off a single shot at him and then hide. It sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. So, Mercy, settings, controls, Mercy. So the settings I have: short crosshair, allied health bars, of course, on. Guardian Angel prefers beam target is off, because I want to be able to go away from the target that I'm healing. Toggle beam connection is off, toggle Guardian Angel is on. The reason why is pretty simple. So if I go up here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Why can't I dash to that? I don't know. Okay, you. So I've showed this off before. Now let's say I want to damage amp this guy. So if I had toggle beam, and I was looking over here, and I press right click, I don't think it would actually swap. I think it would actually very actively look for stuff elsewhere. And the nice thing is, if I bring up my mouse, hopefully it's not too grody. So let me just do this properly. Let me make sure that I have enough mouse cable to do this. So, what I'm doing is holding left click. Okay? Holding left click. Let's do it like this so you guys can see. Right click is not being held. Holding right click. As long as I'm still holding left click, I stay on this target, and I can very quickly toggle between. With toggle, I don't believe it works like this. It would look for a different target instead of staying fixed on this one. So if there was another target next to the bot, it would actively try and swap between the targets when I did this. And that's frustrating. This way, I can make sure that I am staying healing this target. So let's say if that's a Pharah floating around above me, and I want to be looking at my team and keeping an eye on where threats are, and I just hold down left mouse button. Like, even if I'm looking directly at this guy, I can swap it freely. Then when I want to swap target, I let go, and then heal this guy. Then let go, and I can go back to this guy, and then do the same. And do whatever I want with this beam. I just feel like I have a lot more control over my beam like this, and that's what I prefer. It could be complete, like, you could have your own reasons for preferring toggle, but I prefer it like this. The reason why I just have Guardian Angel on toggle is because I'm used to it, because we didn't have the option to cancel Guardian Angel back in beta, and I think actually after release that got changed. But I'm just used to using toggle rather than hold. And the other option is Guardian Angel prefers beam target is off, because let's say that, you know, this guy is about to get fucking toasted. I want to be able to do this while still providing healing, in theory, to this target and getting away from that target. I want that option, so that's why I have those settings as they are. Okay, let's go to Hero Gallery. Let's have a look at Mercy in the background while I answer more questions. There you go. Where's victory poses? There you go. Isn't she fucking cute? Ain't she adorable? She is adorable. Okay, questions? No, go away. So yeah, we answered that. As a Mercy, do you have any tips for people that heavily dive onto you, particularly Pharah? Just understand that once Pharah is committed to a dive, she's usually very into it. Just look for someone to Guardian Angel away as fast as you can. Getting into the air against Pharah is just a very good idea. Do not be predictable in your movement though. So Guardian Angel up, drop a little bit, drift a little bit, drop a little bit, change direction, all that kind of stuff. Basic evasion. 101, very important. If you've got like a Genji, find a tank, for example, to dash to and just cuddle into them. They'll help you get rid of it. Do not be the Mercy that like does this. So let's not use yellow. Use red. So let's say our team is up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're back here, and we're providing healing, and it's great, and it's lovely, and everyone's really happy with our healing. And then they have a Genji that comes in on the back line, and then we complain, oh my god, guys, you're not dealing with a Genji. Why don't we just guide an angel over here? And then the Genji has to follow us into our team, and then someone turns around and kills him. Like, that works so much better. So sometimes it is your team ignoring you. Sometimes it is your team's job to help you out, but sometimes it is just the supports being so far out of position or so far back that they are just stuck on their own and no one can help them. And learning, honestly, it's a very important skill to learn how to deal with people diving you as a support. It is not other people's job necessarily to keep you alive. And that sounds harsh, but it's... you should be giving their DPS a hardest time as possible if they're trying to do that. And especially I see this with Ana players a lot, where the Ana will get really frustrated. Oh my god, the Genji's diving me. If you are dying 1 versus 1 to a Genji as Ana, you're fucking up. That sounds harsh, but I genuinely believe it. It should be a fairly even battle. It should be to the point where the Genji should be struggling to deal with you. Why? Because you have technically 300 hit points. If he gets close to you, you can deal very easy damage to him. You can land shots on him relatively easily. You have a lot of time to maneuver around. He has very limited DPS options in actually killing you outside of Dragon Blade. If he's got Dragon Blade, sure, whatever, fucking fine. But otherwise, it's going to take him a while to kill you, unless he's getting in super close, in which case, why aren't you grenading him? Why aren't you sleeping him? Why aren't you dealing damage to him back? You have options. And so learning to deal with that shit is very important when playing support. Do not expect your team to freely bail you out of it. There's some initiative and some burden on your shoulders. Playing Mercy is not just holding down mouse button 1 and healing people. It is avoiding the DPS and playing around the DPS and outplaying the DPS. That's part of being a good Mercy. Even with the goatee and glasses, Mercy still looks good. Keep rocking that wig. Damn straight. Mercy looks way better than I do, unfortunately. We explained the fundamentals of a tempo res. Do you think tempo res is preferable to a big fat res? So tempo res is basically, you tempo res when you think that a fight is kind of on tipping point. So the way I think of a fight in Overwatch is basically as a set of scales, okay? Simple metaphor. You got a big set of scales, and this is a team fight. And you got your team has got a big weight, and then their team's got a big weight. And so what happens is this seesaws back and forth as people will shoot at each other, poke at each other, and do something. And then someone will use an ultimate, usually. Someone will commit to an ultimate, and that will add extra weight. And then suddenly this will start tipping down towards them as they use 1 ultimate. If they use 2 ultimates, then suddenly they get even more 4. They use 3, suddenly they get even more. And so what you find out of a tempo res is when it's been seesawing back and forth, and the fight's been very close for a long period of time. And let's say one of your main sources of DPS goes down because they've used a lot of focus or they've used an ultimate or 2. You use the tempo res to basically say, okay, they've committed a huge amount of time and they've barely gotten like the seesaw to just start tipping down. What we do is we use the tempo res and then that brings us back up and puts force back on our side and just says, you guys aren't getting away with that. It takes a little bit of experience. I'm a lot better at tempo resing than I am at big resing. That's also one of the advantages of doing tempo reses is because you can be more involved in the fight while you're setting them up. The thing with tempo reses, if you are in the fight, is that it can go horribly wrong. Like you can be caught in a graviton, all 6 of you, and then you just die and you lose. So the advantage of a tempo res is that it's better for like more protracted, long fights, but if they're trying to win fights in like big single swooshes, so if they're coming in and they're getting graviton plus Dragon Blade, that's when you don't want to be doing tempo reses anymore. Like if that threat exists, hide. wait for them to commit using 2 big resources, the Graviton and the Dragon Blade, and then throw the Res in. Res is a relatively cheap ultimate. It's quick to build, fast to build, and it's way faster to build than Graviton Surges. So if you Resurrect and they Graviton Surge, you will have Resurrect available again before they have Graviton Surge. Therefore, your Resurrect is higher value. So it's very much worth doing. So the example in the video, as my hair falls down, the example in the video is the Bastion kill, right? We see that the fight is seesawing for absolutely goddamn ages. It's back here. So it's about, yes, after this stun happens. Let's clear this as well. I can't see, by the way. So, like, they fired off the Graph, they fire off an Earth Shatter, they don't get much value off the back of it. We're kind of winning the fight as well. They've rezzed, so that's 3 ultimates, and they've kind of got this far in the fight. Like, they're actually still kind of on the verge. And so if you think about this fight as a seesaw, they've committed a lot of resources, and it's been kind of tilting their way a little bit. Like, the Bastion's a bit low, the Soldier is in a bit of danger, but they've rezzed as well, and it's still teetering. Still like, okay, this could really kind of go either way. And so when they commit even more resources, they use Sound Barrier now, and they're still not really getting the momentum. So what happens if we just put a little bit of a push? Then suddenly, chunk! The balance instantly shifts. We use all our ultimates and we win. And it's just that very simple tempo thing. You'll find this is a lot more true in like King's Row second point, where you got the S shape and fights tend to just spread out through that, unless like a big graph comes in or something. But you get these opportunities where, for example, if a Soldier 76 goes down in a good position, you just pick him back up. You can instantly change and impact the fight as well, providing more DPS there. So it's just understanding like, how is this fight going? How's the tempo of this fight going? And it's called a tempo res because it gives you momentum. It gives you speed and it stops them getting speed. It just keeps the fight ticking over. So the fight's going okay, the fight's going okay, the fight's going okay. Someone's dying, so maybe the fight's not going okay. Bring them back. Fight's going great. And that's why it's a tempo res. So anytime when you prefer Mercy over Ana, Pharmacy. Pharmacy is just a lot better than Ana, than Pharah, than the Omari family. I don't know. The problem with Pharah and Ana is that as Ana, like, let's pretend that we're looking like towards the screen and we are seeing our team. So our team ideally is like our team is all down here and we are nice and healing them up. We're Ana and we're just shooting darts into them and it's nice and easy and we can do whatever the fuck we like. This is great. Now imagine if instead of having this person here, they were actually up here. Suddenly, if I want to heal this person, I have to look all the way up, and I'm looking away from my team to keep this person alive. And then I have to look back down to heal my team, and if this person then like runs over this way, over past the chat, then to heal that person, I have to look all the way over there, and then I have to look all the way up there to heal them, and then I have to look at the team, then Genji's diving me, so I have to deal with that, and then I have to look at the Pharah because she's screaming for heals, and then I have to look over here, and suddenly I'm getting pulled in all these different directions, and I can't be as efficient as I normally am. It's very, very hard to be efficient with a Pharah on your team. So it's one of those things of like, the Pharah has to be a lot more independent with the Amari family, rather than Pharmacy, where the Mercy can afford to bounce up, heal the Pharah, drift down a little bit, provide some healing, bounce back up maybe, or just dash over here. Like, the Mercy's mobility then comes into play a lot more. And so you can just bounce around to individual heal targets. Josh, life tips, don't be like Jimmy Savile. Yep. Yeah, Lavata's definitely a Mercy mate. Yeah, there's women that play other things, of course. It's generally in front of men or women. Oh, God. Do you think Mercy needs some kind of change based on her currently high pick rate throughout all tiers, as you showed us in the beginning? No. I think she's okay. Like, just to bring the graph back, because I still have it open. Defense. I honestly, I don't see the problem with the graph. I honestly think she's maybe a little bit high in Masters. Like, that's a little bit surprising to me, how high she is here. But the drop-off in Grandmaster is no shock. She's just a lot more limited, and Grandmaster players are a lot better at punishing Mercy. The Ana, like, picking up at Masters Grandmasters doesn't surprise me at all. Just because you have to be more mechanically skilled to get more value out of Ana, so this trend is not surprising. And then as that mechanical skill increases, the value of Mercy decreases. So basically the better you are at just landing shots and landing heals, the better you can get out of Ana, and therefore Mercy starts feeling weaker. The healing output feels lower, it feels less. The utility that Ana brings is more apparent when people can hit sleep darts, hit grenades, and hit shots, therefore Ana pick rate goes up. I can actually see Zenyatta being on the rise in the current patch, and Lucio probably maybe picking up a little bit. Just with the recent changes, Lucio should still be getting picked pretty regularly. That said, like, Ana Mercy defenses are pretty strong at the moment, but I do see Zenyatta getting picked up, I think, a bit more, especially with some pro players who are up and coming and doing extremely good with him, and I think especially the higher tiers will start following suit. Thank you for coaching me, made me weak. I'm glad to help. Hopefully it's useful. Use a stick some blue tack on your glasses so the hair doesn't fall over them. It's a temporary like thing anyway, so it's not a big deal. Can you say the same about aiming GM for Ryan, which doesn't get that stigma? So regarding like the stigma of like Reinhardt requiring less mechanical skill, the thing with Reinhardt is when a Reinhardt fucks up, it is extremely, like, a bad Reinhardt is extremely visible. Extremely visible. And even when it's like a, if we could in some magical realm graph skill, okay, if we could do that, we could graph skill somehow. So basically we have a high skill player. I'm not sure how best to graph this actually, but like a high skill Reinhardt and a lower skill Reinhardt, the deaths would be so much more apparent on the lower skill Reinhardt, whereas with Mercy, the margin I think is a lot tighter, where you can have a passable Mercy and it will look relatively similar to a high skill Mercy. So I just think there are more opportunities to fuck up playing Reinhardt than there are to fuck up playing Mercy, and I think that's where it sort of comes from as well, where you will recognize very quickly if the enemy Reinhardt is worse than you, but if the enemy Mercy is dodgy, it's very hard to tell. I'd say that's where some of the stigma exists. Who should my least play character be, and why should it be Symmetra? Because Symmetra only works on like 20% of the maps. This is dangerous territory. I think Overwatch has a huge sexism problem. I don't think Overwatch has a huge sexism problem. I think gaming has a sexism problem. It's getting better. Getting OneAmongstMany branded misogynist one question. I don't think I said anything that could be construed as misogynist, thankfully. Hopefully I phrased myself extremely well. I think I did. I don't know, Off-Color could shout at me later if I didn't. I use Mercy as training. I was safe studying movement position, learning fundamentals, easy rules. Do you think that Mercy is a go-to for learning, and Mercy meant to people who don't want to go outside the comfort zone? I do think that that plays a role. I absolutely think that that plays a role. Because the thing with Mercy is this, you can be very effective on Mercy and not have to understand how aiming works. And you can, again, you can say the same for Reinhardt and aiming, but it's just a lot easier as Mercy. It's also, like, people are just less likely to yell at healers. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fucking support main. I know people yell at healers, and it's like, what the fuck, why isn't no one healing me? But it's very easy to hold down left click and heal someone back up, and then that problem goes away. If you're playing DPS and nothing's dying, you will get a ton of shit thrown at you. And so it becomes like this very reliable safe space of like, well, you can't criticize me because I pick Mercy, and I'm healing, and I'm rezzing, and I'm doing the things I should be doing, therefore I'm fine. And you can't criticize me. And I think there is an element of that to just getting comfortable on Mercy while you learn, and then just not branching out. And if you find playing Mercy fun, then there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's okay. I think in ranked especially, like even at Grandmaster, even at top 500, if you have the skill to be in top 500, you could probably pick any fucking hero, master it to the degree where you can get into top 500. Your team won't thank you for it, but you can probably play it at that level. Like, we are not pros, we are just here, we are mooks on the competitive ladder, and I think you can, it's, to me the argument is this, if I were Cruz, or Tavik, or Sieni, or Taimu, or Xiaofu, or Kaiser, or anyone fucking Korean, basically, Miro, Ryu Jaehong, like any of these people could probably pick up fucking Symmetra, play them non-stop, be in top 500, especially in EU and NA. They could do it, no problem. They have the skill, the knowledge, and the ability to do that. Therefore, you can do it too. And it's just a case of like, you've just got to get good enough. You've got to get the mechanics down enough. You've got to do that enough. So if you do play Mercy extremely well, then sure. But, you know, don't expect people to thank you for it. It's just the thing that I say. Any thoughts on two Mercy mains walking to a bar? The Twitter argument, or the argument that was posted on Twitter, is fucking glorious in terms of like being a catfight, but it's, you know, regardless of them being Mercy mains or not, they are still being toxic to each other, so both should get reported. And it's a stupid fucking argument to be having. For the love of God, don't just screen grill the moment. Yeah, no, that's obnoxious. I'm guessing this is all the gender debate. I don't know. Again, hopefully people are being reasonable about that. Hopefully I didn't say anything out of line. I don't think I did, but that's usually part of the problem. First point for Skyer. Where is a good Ana position? High ground tends to be, block LOS on the left side of the truck, and everyone else seems to be an enemy LOS. Not really a Mercy question, but if I draw it very quickly from memory. So if you're on the high ground, like you got the like the way it generally looks is this: you got like the window, there's like a bar here, and then it goes out here, and then you got like the low ground area. The forklift is like down here, and you usually have like the Reinhardt and the choke point here. The truck is like over here, and then you got the choke point ahead. The garage is over here. Alcove's here. There's like the gap up here. You got a sign over here, and yeah, I think, and then you got like the high ground over there. Like, I like this position up here on the bridge, and the reason is like if people start chasing it over there, then fine, fuck them. Like you cannot get over there to be positioned realistically. You cannot stand on the low ground over here. You can either stay up here if things start getting dicey and they start diving towards you, or you're worried about line of sight. You can drop down and just be behind the tanks and then fall back towards the point. So you have like that fallback option. What you'll find often is that Genjis will run up here. You can like throw a grenade at this wall to avoid his deflect. You can throw a grenade at the floor, very easy to avoid his deflect. You can very easily anti-heal the Genji here and then punish him because he doesn't have much space to move around. The scary part is if they all rush and go through and then come up the stairs this way and come towards you here. That's a little bit scary, but in that case you jump down, go towards the point, try and fire a sleep dart that way, and then just get out, basically. This is the position that I like. I think this is a relatively good drawing of Volskaya. What's the accuracy rate of Mercy's pistol at high levels of play? I know it's probably silly to swap from the stuff, considering you should be healing damage boosting. I don't know the average. It's very rare that you get to blast with a pistol, because quite often you should just be damage amping a Soldier 76. And if you think about, like, the value of damage amping, the higher the rank just goes up, because the Soldier 76 is landing more shots. So, he's just going to be better. Just damage amp it. I've been swapping between GI on and off. I find it helps a lot if you're pocketing a Pharah or something, because if you fall down a well, you're behind a corner, it saves you from falling. Yeah, I'd say that if you're like, one of the advantages of having GA prefer heal beam target is following a Pharah, but honestly, you should be able to do it regardless, in my mind. Like, you should be able to just bounce around and follow them. There will be time, like, and the Pharah should be aware of your limitations, so that if you dip. Like, Valk is a fucking nightmare for this, where if you're trying to follow Valkyrie, and like, you imagine Hollywood, if you're coming back to the first point on Hollywood, you have that, like, little roof area. Right? And the Pharah loves nothing more than to, like, bounce over that. And when they do, they have this annoying habit of just, like, really going fucking tight to the thing and just going up and over it. Just get a bit of extra height so that I can fucking follow you. That's all I need, is just a little bit of extra height. You gotta remember, Mercy can only drop, she can't really go up. Guys, I play all other support, but I'm trying to learn Mercy. What's the biggest difference between Mercy and all other supports that I need to know? Mercy, you've just got to learn when to let go, and Mercy, like higher level, when you're preparing for a big res, and I didn't really have a chance to talk about it in this coaching the mini, so it's worth mentioning and going over. When you have a resurrect, do not think of health bars like something you have to fill. Okay, so you got a health bar. Do not think of it as something you've got to just constantly top off. What you want is, you want to imagine if you could have all 6, like a fucking raid UI. I'm aware I'm not going to get all 6 on screen at once. What you want is all of them to be dropping at the same pace. And so if one of them starts going down extremely fast, then you bring it back up, right? Then you would try and bring it back up so that they're all about the same pace. And then they drop all down a bit lower. But the worst thing you can do is, like, let's say that this guy dies, he's done, and then you heal this guy back up, so then he's feeling good again, he's all healthy, and then this guy dies, and then you heal this guy up, and he's healthy, and so that these two guys then die like 10 seconds later, so then these guys respawn, so then you can only get 2 people in res. The objective is to get everyone to die at the same fucking time. And then when that happens, you just res them all. And so you've got to sort of keep an eye on, like, think of it as well as like spinning plates of like, okay, he needs a bit of healing because he's dying faster than everyone else, so let's try and slow that down a little bit, but make sure that I'm not getting out of position doing it as well. You don't die in this process, of course. That's priority number 1. But, you know, if he dies, then that starts the countdown timer. I need everybody to die before that guy respawns. So I'm not going to heal this guy. This guy might need a little bit of healing just to get a bit of damage, and then he's just going to explode. So whatever. Okay, fine. I'll put a bit there, or a bit of damage up here. Let this guy die over there. Okay, that's done. Okay, now I can move out, res, pick everyone up, and I'm a fucking god, and I get play of the game, and it feels great. That's the idea. That's the theory. And no other support does that. No other support does that. So doing that as Mercy is very difficult. Can you set up a desk fan in front of you so you can see those glorious locks flying? No, because it'll blow into the microphone and cause distortion on the mic. Do you think Mercy needs any more buffs? I think she's okay. I think she's been seeing a lot more action. What do you think triple support comps and proteins have apparently been using? I think they'll get countered when people like run. I don't see them lasting. I think they're just going to pop up and be a novelty. I need to watch the footage with them more and go over it more, but I think I saw Cruz comment on this as well, and he basically said it's an interesting thing, but I think as people get better with like high DPS comps, it's just going to explode. Will Junkrat ever be viable? Not in its current state. Not without a better ultimate. Basically my idea. What tanks work well with Mercy? All of them except Winston. Because Winston, you don't, like, he wants to jump in and go really deep, and you don't want to go deep as Mercy. Mercy does not want to go deep. Yeah. Why aren't you in the full Mercy cosplay for today's coaching session? Because it's way too much work. Why have Pharah remain such terrible players and Mercy? Because they're used to playing without it, and so you're basically, when you're playing pharmacy with them, you generally are forcing them to adjust. And they don't like doing that. So I know when playing with Valk, from experience with playing with Valk, he is used to bouncing around without a Mercy. And the second you tell him, no, you know, you should be waiting for me to catch up, he's like, no, I can't do that. I need to be this mobile because that's how I play and that's how I execute. And so it's a case of like, okay, you know, if you're going to do that, I can't follow you. And then he just goes, yeah, no, that's fine. Like, he understands the risks of doing that, but especially when they're like ranked legends, when they're solo queue legends, it works a lot less. Just because they're not used to being in that team situation. Is it worth it to res if the enemy has used no ults and you know they have ults? Yes, kind of. Like, you might as well use it because you're at least generally forcing them to make a response. So if you have 5, you know, if you have the fucking triangle of glory on screen, and it says, you know, 5 times res, then sure, pick everybody back up. And then they'll use all their ultimates, and then you come back to the next fight, whatever. You could, because the way it works is this: Mercy Res is one of the fastest building ultimates in the game. It used to be even faster, but now it's still one of the fastest. You can generally have it for every fight, maybe every second fight. But stuff like Graviton's to me is an ultimate that's like every 4th fight. Shadow is like every 2nd fight, depending on how well the Reinhardt's been doing. If Reinhardt has never been hitting anything, it's every 3rd fight or every 4th fight. Reinhardt's been getting in and meleeing the shit out of people, then it's every fight. So it's one of those things of like, you use your ultimate, but your ultimate comes back faster than theirs, so therefore you get the advantage. Did you lose a bet or something with all these wigs? It's over there, I think, on OBS. I can't actually see OBS right now, but it's over there. Week, paid for through donations. Okay, and that's all the questions. We did a lot of questions today, but we talked about a lot of stuff. So I'm going to do coaching. So if you do want to get your footage sent in, then by all means do just send it in. Send it into oamreviews@gmail.com, including the hero name and the rank in the title, included a link to like the YouTube video or whatever as well. I know this person, for example, had to send 2 emails because it's like, oh shit, I forgot the link. Happens to people all the time. So make sure you include that link. Other than that, make sure you come join us live 10 PM British time. I tweet out, and usually an hour or half an hour before I start it as well, so just follow me on Twitter and you'll be able to find out when it starts. But 10 PM British time, which is about 2 PM California time in America, and early in the morning in Australia as far as I know, so hey. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching to the end. It's been great to have you. Glad to have you with us as well. Why have I forgotten your name? Why have I blanked on your name? This makes me feel so fucking bad. I feel terrible. Brosis, of course it's Brosis. I'm sorry. I'm bad at names. I'm terrible at names. So thank you, Brosis. After how long can I send in a new video? If you sent in a video and it hasn't been picked, then by all means just send in other videos. Just don't like spam, like 1 a week is fine. If you start spamming me with tons and tons of videos, I'm probably just gonna go, okay, calm it down a bit, mate, what the fuck. But like 1 video every week is okay. And like if I've reviewed you before as well, which I don't think I have done for you, Swiss Butio, then just leave it a while. Like I don't want to do the same person like 4 times in a row. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching to the end. It's been great to have you with us, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Toodles.